efforts across the next 2 weeks we are going to watch.
Pipe dream, that's not going to happen, but he might be able to just do it by just rolling up into Cyril's face. He's trying to prophecy! It's done!
One of these four dropping notes by our Blizzard player in the southeast of Discord.
ShoWTimE down, the main globe, the majority of them. Ultras are on the way.
For a good time, Rainer down on army supply, down on workers, and possibly now down again in the WCS final. GG! One more time, one more trophy.
I think it might be, but I think my mic is on.
Clear
it's been an incredible day so far. We did now see that it's going to be ShoWTimE going up against soO here on the final match. I think ShoWTimE's really impressing everybody. soO certainly has a shot. We've had a ton of games here today. What is your take right now? Do you think ShoWTimE can continue to move forward, or is it going to be soO, Nate?
We had a lot of good games. Been a lot of great gaming happening here, Tasteless, but
Amazing game.
it's quite hard to call. It's quite difficult to say, honestly. Like ShoWTimE looked really, really good at the start of the day, and then the last match looked good, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I felt like he really started to crumble against some of the aggressive builds that the Zergs were doing.
You know, it's been a marathon for each series that we've had so far. ShoWTimE had a really long series to start the day off, and then we just now saw him do another insane long series against Special. Do you think he's going to be fatigued coming in here at Rotterdam, or is this not going to be a factor?
I think it is going to be a factor, but I also think it's going to be a factor for soO. Don't forget that this day has also been very long for him. And I just met him like maybe 20 minutes ago. It was like a long day. He's like, oh, you know, like you can see it. And it's also, even if you're not playing, it's still draining. It's mentally draining because you know that one big series is still coming up. I don't know. I think that if ShoWTimE plays as good as he did against Dark, I actually would give him a small edge here. But then if you think back of the earliest days of the year where we had Katowice, before soO started his grand finals against Stats, I was like, he's never going to win that. And after the first two games, I was like, this is going to be the worst finals ever. He's never going to win this. And then suddenly he wins 4 games in a row. So you can never count soO out. But I really think it's very even, if not small edge ShoWTimE maybe.
Yes, it works.
He's back. Welcome back.
We're here. Okay, great stuff. I wasn't listening to anything you guys said just then because I was confused as to whether or not my mic was working, so I do apologize for that. How much did you guys talk about our previous series during all of that?
Nothing, actually. We only talked about the upcoming series.
Okay, we can take a look at the highlights from our
do it.
previous series here and figure out exactly how everything went down with ShoWTimE being able to advance on into our next match. So Rotterdam, as you kind of took a look at the start of this series, what were your impressions?
I mean, obviously I liked a lot of the Phoenix openings. I think especially if you're able to hide the fact that you're playing Phoenix, it becomes very powerful in this matchup. I have to admit that this fight, I was like, I don't think ShoWTimE is going to hold this. The Widowmine count was very high, and the Zealot count was very high. I was like, I mean, I see so much potential here for Special, but I must say, that the force fields did a fantastic job in buying a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not even that big of a fan of the anti-armor missile on the Zealots, even though it's sick. I feel when you have this many Widow Mines, I would much rather drop some other turrets to mess up with the charge of the Zealots, because rely on the mines to kill the Zealots. I don't think you really need the anti-armor missile here.
A lot of focus potentially on that, and obviously was able to push that back. And then from there, ShoWTimE, Nathanius, with the disruptors, with any kind of control at the front, was able to winning things out pretty convincingly.
Yeah, it's a difficult army to control, you know, tabbing between the ghosts and trying to use that stimmed bio.
Yeah.
The Protoss player takes advantage of that by just having these armies you're going to have to dodge, and you're forcing out a lot of stims. And ShoWTimE's control, I think, in every game that we saw was one of the reasons why he was able to claw some of the later ones back as well, even though there were some really good starts for Special. But, I mean, that's the key for playing Protoss, right? It's that unit control, dragging the Phoenix mine shots over the bio, and just moving forward. Like, getting some really good stuff done was Special, but it's very hard to make those games work.
Going into this game that we have over here, the Banshees did a lot of damage early on, and this really put ShoWTimE into a pretty tough spot.
Yeah.
It was interesting in the sense that ShoWTimE continued to try to fight head-to-head despite the supply deficit. But again, we're seeing here with disruptors, you know, a lot of this came down to whether or not you could get the right disruptor shots and then keep them alive as you're trying to retreat.
I think it also showed kind of the power of the Stargate. This was the one game where he didn't have a Stargate, and then you don't exactly know what you're up against, and obviously the Banshees did indeed do a lot of damage, like Nick just said. I mean, this is the complete opposite. You open Stargate, you keep the units in the right position, just fantastic defense, and once you defend perfectly against the first or the second mine drop, yeah, you can go disrupt this, and you're going to get some good hits off eventually.
And he definitely did in this third game. This was the scariest game, I feel, when it came to those disruptor hits coming in. Was that just Special crumbling on his side of things, or just ShoWTimE being able to eke it out?
It's a combination of that, but also the multitasking on the harass from ShoWTimE was fantastic in that game. When he made that push onto the third base, he had the DTs hitting the natural, so you're trying to deal with all of that, and that's when microing against those disruptors becomes so difficult.
And our last game here in the series kind of ended a little bit quicker than I was expecting. Kind of came out of the blue for me, Rotterdam, when all this was said and done.
Yeah, I went for a 5 Rex here. I think he just really wanted to be hyper-aggressive. I didn't hate the idea, I didn't hate the call, but it just wasn't really able to get right in there. Like, if you make a push like this, which is obviously an all-in attack by Special, after the first skirmish, you need to be up 20, 30 army supply. You're going to lose the SCVs, that's always going to happen. But if you get, like, if you survive it with a lot of Marines, then the reinforcements can make it even more impactful. And then eventually the idea is that, you know, the DPS of your bioforces become so high that every Zealot runs forward. It just disappeared. But it never really happened like that. They fought, they disengaged, and it's like 65 against 65. It's like, okay, that's really good for ShoWTimE, because every second that goes by, I mean, he has 40 workers more mining. So, yeah, Special just never really got the advantage that he was looking for there in the end.
To say ShoWTimE was concerned with the potential of going up against Special Tasteless, he certainly did well for himself. The disruptors were a big key factor in that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell if this is just him being incredibly modest, but he's looking really strong.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he really has a very realistic shot going up against soO here. And I'll tell you, I didn't think he was going to perform anywhere near as well as he did, based off just the games we've seen from him in the past. Not that he's bad, but I thought these other players were much better. And I guess he was, again, just so modest, I thought that this was going to be much tougher for him. But he's looking very strong.
And that moves us on to our final series of the day here, of course, as we had ShoWTimE prevailing with 3-1 over Special there. Special is, unfortunately for him, eliminated from the WCS Global Finals for now. We have soO going up against ShoWTimE. Apparently, you guys already spoke about this a little bit before whilst I was trying to get everything sorted out. But for ShoWTimE, coming off the back of the 3-2 against Dark at the beginning of the day, of course, Dark and soO play a little bit differently from one another, but that's got to be kind of a good potential situation for ShoWTimE here, going up against soO in this match.
Absolutely, and if you think of the way that soO in general likes to play this matchup, like it's a lot of mid-game, like a lot of Roaches, sometimes Roach Hydra, maybe some Roach Ling Rev Jabane. If you think back of the game that ShoWTimE played against Dark on Acropolis, I think that's how a lot of this series is going to look like. You're going to have very solid mid-game, keep your units alive. I think the key unit in this entire series for ShoWTimE is going to be his Oracles. If he keeps the Oracles alive, so not just do some good harass, but keep them alive, because soO, once again, he's not a turtley Zerg. He wants to be aggressive, often with very little anti-air. So if you keep Oracles alive, A, you keep track of the army, B, it's a lot of DPS, I really think that can make all the difference.
Nate?
Yeah, no, I'm completely with Kev on this. I like the way that the style matches up, especially if he could retain the Oracles from the early game. I feel like when you watch like Dark play and the way that he's picked his builds and his matches he's played today, it's a very like hateful style where he's just trying to do all of this stuff to really make you feel bad as he beats you to death. But soO's been like at least a little bit more like that mid-game type player, and I don't expect to see the same types of strategies. And I think that the way that ShoWTimE played, especially versus Dark, is going to match up a lot better against soO.
Tasty.
I think he's got a real shot, ShoWTimE does. I think he's looked very strong today. He did not try to play with timing attacks, which I think we all anticipated that he would do. So if he can still deliver and he's still got solid play, unless soO has some really surprising timing attacks or some aggression that's going to be very tough for him to deal with, I think this might actually go to ShoWTimE.
I mean, I would argue ShoWTimE made his name on being basically Demour, right? He made his name on that, being able to greet those kind of maybe mid-game moments where Zerg is going to be aggressive, Terran is going to be aggressive to try and kind of finish him off, no?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in general, it doesn't really make too much sense to go for like heavy 2-base attacks against a player like soO, because soO is gonna like have those units already. The units that a Zerg needs to have to defend certain Protoss attacks, he's gonna have them anyway because he wants to attack you. So I think if ShoWTimE truly lives up to his name and he is Demour the wall in this series, I think stylistically, it's a very winnable best-of-5 for him.
No, absolutely. I think we're just waiting a few more moments before we actually do get into all of this here. I haven't quite got full confirmation of that. But when you look at how soO's road through 2019 has been since Katowice and Nathanias, how have you seen soO's road throughout 2019?
Well, I mean, we just talk about like what makes these players so good, and it's come down a lot to the consistency. One of the, soO's had the jokes about him over the course of his career, but all of it stems from being able to get to the top of the tournament for forever, right? And that's how you come into this tournament as one of the top Zergs. We talk about how Zerg players are good, but to stand out amongst them and have that aggression, that killer instinct is super important. And I really thought it was interesting just going as well to like the post match, even against Special, like talking about how he was doing styles that he's like, oh yeah, I knew this wasn't really the best way to do it, but I felt like I could make it work and do it anyway.
Yeah,
and having that level of confidence can help you win games in like very weird situations because maybe you shouldn't, but because you're not thinking too much about what you're doing, you're just doing it as best you can. You can squeeze those games out of tight places, and that's what makes him as good as he is.
I think it speaks to the evening of the difference between WCS Circuit and WCS GSL when it comes to how close the particular series can be between a name like soO and a name like ShoWTimE, as you gentlemen are giving, well, some of you are giving a little bit of an edge here to ShoWTimE when it comes to potentially the whole series.
Well, I mean, look, soO's had an incredible story in StarCraft 2. Nobody's really had a history quite like this guy. But I think just seeing how comfortably ShoWTimE is playing today, how he came into this with, I think, the best possible mindset you could have, which was that the points don't matter anymore. You've made it into the tournament now, and so you just have to bring your best. He has not relied on what we thought he might have to do, like doing these all-ins.
Okay,
so, despite all that, I'm still leaning towards him. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. It is now time to head on with things. It is the final series of the day here to determine who is going to be moving on to the round of 8. It's soO going up against ShoWTimE.
All right, guys, our final best of 5 in what has been a very action-packed day, going down to the wire for 3 out of the last 4 series in our best of 5s. I am Maynard, with me is Artie McTosis, as he likes to be referred to. Artie, how you feeling about this one? I feel like stylistically, I kind of echo the boys down there on the desk, or the couch area, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
Seems pretty good for ShoWTimE on paper.
Definitely neither a desk nor a couch. The 4 chairs.
Yeah, the 4 chairs.
But no, I mean, I think you do have to look at it that way. If you're having a great defensive Protoss go up against someone who's generally a more aggressive mid-game Zerg, that should favor the Protoss player. But the thing is, soO is just, the guy's a legend. I mean, come on. He's the Katowice champion, 6-time GSL finalist. He can pull out any style. Okay, I know that we all know how he likes to play, but I feel like he can adjust here as well. It's a pretty even match.
Oh, looks like the game is about to begin, so let's get into the action. Game number 1 between ShoWTimE and soO. Let's go. The top left here in the red, the Zerg player, he is
Chivo, soO.
I am Katowice champion of 2019. Baller Zerg in general in the bottom right here, hailing from Germany. In the blue, he is
Makers, ShoWTimE.
Yeah, of course, ShoWTimE, one of the best foreign Protosses.
A previous
for a
WCS
long
champion
time.
back in 2016, a long
Gosh,
time.
That is true, isn't it? You know, ShoWTimE just so highly respected in the scene, even in Korea. You know, everyone's like, yeah, ShoWTimE, this guy's great. And we really got to see that he prepared for that match against Dark phenomenally well. Like, that was a very impressive match. He really knew the way that Dark likes to play. But for instance, the way that he played that match, I don't think he can play it similarly against soO. soO is going to be a player that brings a fight to him with like a more sturdy army, right? soO is not just waiting for you to step on creep to kill you. So, you know, I think he's going to have to play a slightly more technical game. You know, spellcasters in there a little bit more, some High Templars maybe defensively, and see how that goes. Look at this.
Yeah, a little bit of a scuffle there. Nice control from soO, just spamming that drone around, avoiding those drone zaps. He is just delaying this Nexus for quite a minute there. That was very annoying for ShoWTimE. And he is going for that greedier wall in here, which gives him a safe 3-base expansion pattern, but it's, you know, there are players like soO who could actually be aggressive, but he's going to actually take the other end of the spectrum here and just go for like a very, very fast third hatchery here before 2 minutes.
Yeah, and I kind of like that, to be honest. I think that what you should be doing here is out-greeting ShoWTimE. I think that's the right way to play it because he is such a strong defensive player. He's not making that wall without a plan to defend aggression. So if you're going to bring the aggression, you better be a damn good aggressor.
soO is definitely that, but this time he's going to go for a bit of... I always call it the Korean third when the Zerg gets that third base at like 150, 155.
Yeah.
Just seems like the Korean Zergs really like to do that.
Well, you know, it really helps him to get going, and this is a map where, I mean, it is kind of just a macro map. You don't really see those early attacks. It's a windy map to walk across. It's very easily defensible. What's the point, really?
Right, yeah. Huge map here, Thunderbird. And once again, ShoWTimE, you know, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. He loves those Stargate openings. He's doing it once again here. So he's not really being tricky at all in this series. He did proxy 1 Stargate in his series against Dark.
Yeah.
It did minimals, like 4 drones, 5 drones maybe.
It wasn't very good.
Disco Bloodbath, yeah. Wasn't the greatest, it wasn't the most effective proxy, but that triple Oracle or even the Foracle play from ShoWTimE finding a little bit more value in his first PvZ series of the day.
Well, going to get in here with the Adept and see what he can get done. Some scouting at minimum. But I got to say, like, so far this game, I've really liked how soO has played it. And I know that we're early on and everything, but, you know, he delays the expansion just slightly. Oh, my God. Are you actually losing multiple drones right now?
Yeah, and he's marrying up with a second Adept coming up that ramp, and now they can one-shot the drones if they actually time out their shots. It looks like he doesn't need to shade away. He's lost shields in these bad girls, but they, yeah. soO's denying a little bit, is losing a bit of mining time there, lost 3 drones, but most importantly, ShoWTimE keeps the Adepts alive, so they're going to be able to join up with even more lately if he wants to continue to do drone damage, but he's going to be pretty happy with the start so far.
Yeah, I think so. Like, that harassment was actually very, very nice in keeping those alive. Now he has the Phoenix out to push away Overlords, but I like how soO scouted so heavily with that opening drone. Is that actually a drone at the third? Yeah, so he's actually going to see, you know, at least that this isn't taken yet, but just the fact that he scouted, for instance, the Stargate, that tells soO that he can just drone endlessly. As long as he throws down some spores when he needs them, he's going to be safe.
The reign of terror of that drone is finally over. It delayed the natural Nexus, turned itself into an extractor, canceled it, and went over to the third Nexus location. We've got a lair on the way here for soO. Not crazy timing on that lair, as he's starting to get his creep spread and that third base sort of situated here. And like you said, Artosis, it is kind of just all about making drones right now, waiting for the Stargate to just come across. And we are seeing Robo already here from ShoWTimE as well, so it could be more of a very standard PvZ opener.
Yeah, I almost feel like I want to see him take his third Nexus at this point. But let's see what he gets done here. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to get any drones with that Oracle, as it is a bit delayed. And obviously, you know, soO already knew that it was on the way. More Oracles being sent across the map, though. And the third Nexus does get started.
Yeah, that definitely was the plan of ShoWTimE with the wall in there. Adepts coming back into the third hatchery, trying to get some more drone kills. They get one, shaving off and one more there as they shade back. So just being very, very annoying here. ShoWTimE not doing tons of drone damage, but it is pulling soO back. Meanwhile, the Oracles and the Phoenix starting to hit that natural. Not getting tons done, but a few drones and keeping everything alive. All good.
Nice targeting there, kind of pushing him back as quickly as he can, losing 3 drones, but you know what? He is continuing to drone up as much as he can.
Nidus?
Oh, was it?
I think that might have been a Nidus one. Yeah, it is. I just saw the outline of it there.
Well, maybe he's decided that this is a little bit too much greed for him to be able to put up with.
Oh, good news for ShoWTimE is that he's starting an Immortal immediately, and that is actually already, without him even, I don't know if he's actually seen the Nidus just yet. He's very close to seeing it.
I don't think, he did see it. You're right.
Okay, so the Immortal makes a ton of sense, obviously, and soO's getting a Spire as well, and soO can be very, very weird with switching into Spires here in this matchup.
Yeah, I actually really like the Spire play that we've seen evolve a lot lately in Korea. This map has actually been a big part of that as well, as everyone's kind of sitting back, you know, powering up so heavily. We've seen a lot of builds that are like Ling, Roach, Ravager into Mutas, and then kind of rolling through with a lot of Speed Banes and things like that. But we'll see what he wants to do. Like, we don't see any Roaches yet or anything. We don't really see any ground army of merit coming out of soO. But he is taking the 4th base. He's got a Nidus he's not using. He's making a Spire.
I mean, from what I understand, he just has like a handful of Queens as he's army right now. So the Nidus Worm might just be a bamboozle here, and he might rely heavily on the Spire instead. Triple Oracle coming on in, and that's an easy engagement for them with just that one Queen on her lonesome. Her sister's joining in to help her out. But we are seeing ShoWTimE dropping their Forge, dropping the Twilight Council, and continuing to build Immortals, which is the way to be. You just need to be on top of the Nidus production. If a Nidus Worm does pop up, he needs to knock that thing down before it unloads anything. But it is just looking more and more like soO just wants to rely on Spire here.
Yeah, and we just saw another Phoenix get started here for ShoWTimE, so maybe he's caught on to what's going on at the moment. I mean, his Oracles are flying around getting good intel as well. 9 Mutalisks on the way. Another Phoenix coming up, but I mean, 9 Mutas, you're not going to counter that with just 2 Phoenixes.
As ShoWTimE's getting a bunch more production now as well as he starts charging +1 attack, so he's actually starting to head towards a relatively scary army here, Artosis. Is, you know, there's no Baneling Nest just yet, there's no splash damage really at all for the Zerg, so a big clump of Gateway units on the ground be terrifying.
That is a very important thing that he is getting the Baneling Nest now, finally. The Oracle's flying in, gonna find a little bit of damage here, not that much though, and actually saves them all, so that's a big deal.
1 hit point.
Look at this, 13 drones behind. He's going to go to over 80 drones while trying to keep him busy here with these Mutalisks. Now, the Muta's flying over. He did put a shield battery in each mineral line, so that is definitely going to slow down the damage of the Mutas.
So ShoWTimE's done his homework here on this Zerg. He's going to come in and get a few of those probes that are out of range of that shield battery, and the Phoenixes, with good control, they can handle a lot of Mutalisks here, and they do shoo them away for now. He takes a little bit of damage there on one of those Phoenixes, but the rest of them still very healthy, and he is still producing them.
And the Mutas fly out. They actually pick off that probe that was going to make a 4th base. ShoWTimE looks like he wants to get some harassment still done here. There is a Muta kind of looking for them at the moment. And look at this, Corruptors being added in. So soO is really committing to this tech.
Yeah, he's going ham on the Spire tech here. He's getting his air upgrades and the Corruptors, very, very expensive army. Obviously, that means he can start to engage these Phoenixes directly and using the Mutas to pull back, letting the Corruptors actually face tank the Phoenixes, waiting for their time to shine. I mean, this army of ShoWTimE sucks against Mutalisks if they're all alive. That's for damn sure. So that seems to be the plan here of soO.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good for soO right now, but if ShoWTimE defends this well, you can get into an army that's very hard for this to engage. For instance, if you start adding Archons, well, Mutalisk Corruptor doesn't beat Archons.
No, it certainly does not. Archons are an excellent choice here to add into the composition of ShoWTimE, and they are on the way. Seems like he's played Knifey Spoony here before against this kind of play here from soO. Corruptor's balling up with those Mutalisks, so the Phoenixes don't really want to take that fight at all, but he is at least showing him back. And soO, even trying to get a Ling run by here, he really wants to get a cancel on this 4th Nexus.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of damage onto it right now. Won't commit the Corruptors onto it because the Phoenixes are right there. And it looks like ShoWTimE going to move across. But I'm a little bit nervous for him. If those Mutas and Lings come back, that army might be toast.
Oh, he does have recall, so if things get dicey, he can just open up the Bifrost and send everyone back home. he gets the 5th hatchery attempt here from soO down in the south. The Lings showing him that soO is on the way. He goes for the recall. He saves most of the expensive units here, so the Archons and the Immortals definitely the most important. And those Zealots just hacking and slashing with whatever his Lings remain, but they obviously are going to lose the fight.
That was a beautiful move. That was fantastic. To kill that and get out with the Immortals, with the Archons, those are really the only important units there. Now, it looks like soO going to go ahead and counterattack with these Corruptors and with these Mutas, starting to deal a lot of damage to these probes. Of course, we do have a lot of Stalkers out there, but a Ling counterattack here right in front of the wall, going to pick off some of these important units.
Yeah, only just +1 attack on these Lings, but they are doing an all-right job here, considering there's Archons in the mix. Some walk-in Stalkers here for ShoWTimE to fight the Mutas, but the Mutas seem to be actually cutting through these Stalker numbers so quickly, and 11 probes have gone down the back of this as well, and counting. soO finding some sick damage here on the 3rd Nexus.
Yeah, this is really painful indeed. It looks like ShoWTimE going to do a little bit of a counterattack. Maybe he can force soO out of his base. The Muta's still fighting head-to-head against these Stalkers as well.
ShoWTimE's got a bunch of Archons here with a few Immortals, which is definitely all right against a heavy Ling Force, but look at that Spinecrawler count on that high ground there. And soO, if he really needs to, can bring these mutants back home, but it doesn't look like he needs to at all. He can just keep them here, constantly doing more and more chip damage to ShoWTimE. And how does he break this Zerg defense? He's going to try his best here, but it does not look good.
No, I do not think that you want to actually try to engage into those spines right now. He is warping more units, so I guess he disagrees, but this is turning into a little bit of a base trade, but one that soO has a vast advantage in.
I tend to agree with you there. He is going to lose a lot of these Lings there to the Archons. It's not a fight that Lings generally want. The upgrades for ShoWTimE's army is not too bad as well. He's got +2 attack on those Archons I was talking about there, and the Immortals. So they are cutting through things like drones and hatcheries very, very quickly. Those Spinecrawlers do scare him off, so he is getting those fringe bases. And I think that once soO has done the damage here with these Mutalisks, you know, happy to have cleaned out the third, maybe get that fourth Nexus attempt again for like what feels like the 10th time in this game. Bring them back home and clean up what remains of ShoWTimE's army. Recall will be off cooldown by now, but he can still at least get ShoWTimE off of his front lawn.
Well, I tell you what, the thing is, when he kills this base, what does ShoWTimE really have left economy-wise?
Yeah, not a whole lot, man. I mean, they both have a similar work account, so they both don't have a crazy economies. No, but soO does have a lot of money in the bank here. Once he gets rid of that supply block, which is a bit of a problem right now, or rather, you know, once he gets the lava up to get those Lings up, he'll be able to actually make an army that can fight back. But the Mutas do need to come home and help, I feel. 5 Archons is so scary.
5 Archons? Like, how many Mutas does it take to kill 5 Archons with +2 attack?
A lot.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, but look at this. He's bringing up his spines as well. He's going to bring absolutely everything as he lost his third base. He realizes that this is the game-winning move. He has to be able to clear this. The Archons being chuckled back immediately.
5 Archons cannot handle 35 Mutalisks. And there we go. soO is going to get game number 1. Pretty brilliant game there from the Korean Zerg. Very nicely played.
Yeah. Here's my take on that. I feel like soO overall outplayed ShoWTimE there, but ShoWTimE showed a lot of brilliance with his counterattacks. Even though things were going wrong for him, he just got on the map and killed bases throughout that entire game. He definitely did not make it easy on soO, even though soO had that strategic advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like ShoWTimE had done his research. He was like, okay, Nidus Worm, but I'm not hearing any of the friendly Nidus Worm screams.
Yeah.
Which means that something else is afoot. Yes. And he read the Spire very well. You can see it, the Phoenix production. That's just a big giveaway. The shield batteries and mineral lines. Big giveaway that he knows a Spire is coming. But soO still managed to make that composition work. The Corruptors seem to be something that really messed up ShoWTimE's defense.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is very hard to play against. If you want to fight against those units, I mean, you're either doing big counterattacks with a ground-based army and doing a base trade, or maybe like 2 Starport Phoenixes with the range upgrade. But that small amount of Phoenix is having a very hard time keeping soO off his back.
Well, World of Sleepers is going to be our next battlefield here between these 2 players. Let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. ShoWTimE vs soO, game 2. Let's go. And there's up right here, the Korean Zerg in the red, winning game number 1. He is
Chivo, soO.
I want my bases to have stars and lasers around them in my later games. I need to hire a freaker to come to my house. In the bottom left here, in the blue, looking to fight back and get a point on the board. He is
Makers, ShoWTimE.
That's the building skin that I need right there. Shooting stars around the Nexus.
That's it. So it didn't really work out there in game number 1 for ShoWTimE. This is another one of those maps that can be very tricky against Zerg because they have so much room to breathe. It is a very, very big map, just not unlike Thunderbird, but it's that 3-base pattern is a little bit wider open. You know, it's hard to have that secure wall in. Obviously, your first 2 bases are quite safe, but then you start to get out to 3 bases and it already starts to get pretty uncomfortable. You have a lot of open area if you're expanding on the edge of the map. Some madmen out there, myself included, like to mine out the minerals really quickly and take that triangle pattern base. But that, that's a little bit tough to defend as well.
Some madmen from Zerg like to mine out those minerals and attack you with Zerglings. But
or block your natural with a hatchery in this case.
Now, look at this. Yeah, okay, so the offensive hatchery here, he actually throws down a forge. What is this forge for, would you say? Is he going to do something cheeky here?
Yes, I think so, Artosis. He's like, all right, you're going to be cheeky in my natural, will be cheeky in your natural, mate. The Overlord obviously does see this, so soO does know what's happening here from ShoWTimE. The ShoWTimE cannon rushes that we've seen so far haven't been super game, critical.
Yeah, this is a funny one. 4 pylons, but I guess he's got the money since you forced him to not have a Nexus here.
Hopefully he doesn't make 3 cannons here. He's going for 2. But I think if you get 2 cannons up, you don't need more cannons. You know, you can even, you know, start to cancel things as you get closer and closer.
Yeah, I would have loved to see him actually cancel one of those pylons at least. But you know what? No harm, no foul. It looks like he will be able to get rid of that hatchery at least.
Yeah. 2 cannons is a big, big bother for soO. And it looks like he's going to go for the Roach Warren and Spinecrawler reaction here. Very, very similar to Dark when ShoWTimE tried this rush on Winter's Gate. And with that hatchery finishing up, obviously that does slow down the Nexus by a lot, but that is an investment for soO.
Yeah, this is a very funny game that we're looking at right now. Just all their buildings being built in the wrong places.
Does he need this 3rd cannon?
No, I think he'll probably cancel that one. I think that one's the one that's like, oh, just in case, you know.
Yeah, just in case. Gonna make sure that hatchery dies. I mean, it is very, very important that that dies. He has put in a lot of minerals on the other side of the map here.
If you don't kill that right now, with all that's gone on this side of the map and how slowed down you are, yeah, you're not in good shape. Looks like he finally kills that hatchery. He's going to kill this hatchery as well. So 2 hatcheries dying in the first 3 minutes and 10 seconds of the game. You'd think that would be the end, but it's really not.
Yeah. You would think with 2 hatcheries dying within 10 seconds of each other that would be pretty good for the Protoss. It was actually still a little bit weird on both sides of the map here, and there's that trusty old Stargate for ShoWTimE. But of course, soO is making some early roaches, and he doesn't want to just make those roaches to hang out and defend. soO would like to turn those into Ravages and be very annoying here.
This is funny. Look at this little micro battle we have going on. 2 Lings and a Roach against a Zealot. Well, the Zealot going to micro back for now. Shield battery is on the way. Probe's having to come out as well.
This is a fight I have not seen.
No, it's not every day that you see the one Roach come in and just wreak havoc. But that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
It's a very, very heavily armored early game unit. When you look at things, it's all things are relative. So that Stalker does need to help out here. So the Roach does go down. Very annoying start for ShoWTimE. But soO, of course, still on 1 base, which is just devastating.
Yeah, I'm not a super fan of where soO's at, to be
I
honest.
thought these Ravages would go across the map, but he's actually just using them to clean up what remains of ShoWTimE in the natural.
Yeah. I think he saw that Stargate and he's like, well, what am I actually able to do here?
By the time they get there, he'll have a Stargate unit, and then I just lose my Ravages.
Yeah, turns out Biles are not really anti-air. Anti-liberator, perhaps.
Yeah, right.
Well, he's going to finally clean up some of these cannons here while he is taking that rich Vespene Geyser base.
Cannon is in range of those Ravages. Sometimes I get surprised by the range of those bad boys. So as we see, soO knows that the Oracle is soon to be coming, even though he only has 1 base to defend in. So you'd think he'd be pretty safe against an Oracle. Just trying to dot his I's and cross his T's here, getting a Spore Crawler up. I don't even know if he has multiple. I think he's just. Oh, he does have multiple Queens. He's got 2 of them here. So he's very, very safe against the Oracle.
Yeah, it looks like the Oracle flying up right now. I mean, do you keep it there? I feel like you go up and you push everything away from that cannon. Why not? The Adept floating up and seeing no layer yet, so doesn't have to worry about anything too cheesy.
Yep, and just the double expand from soO, the instant he gets rid of that last cannon, the last bit of Protoss infrastructure on that side of the map. Getting that high ground here, so the Stalker can pick off that Overlord, having a look at his natural wall in. And the game will start to normalize a little bit. It's a bit of an uncomfortable 3rd for the Zerg. He does have that rich Vespene Geyser, but you have like that sort of expansion pattern where you kind of want to be in a straighter line. But soO very deliberately expanding on the low ground here. Ooh, trying to save that drone, but not quite quick enough.
Yeah, this is especially hard because, you know, there's going to be 3 Oracles out. And I mean, just with a regular base setup, those can end up killing a lot of units, a lot of drones. Here, he's banking a huge amount of energy when the 3rd one comes up. And you add in this Adept? I mean, you can kill Queens.
Yeah.
He might be able to even kill the hatchery. I feel like there's some small chance of that.
Well, he's decided the time is now. Laser beams have been activated, and a Pulsar beam down 1 Queen. Only 2 more to go. He's making 2 at once here. Actually, he's got 3 Queens there in that natural. I mean, the 3 Oracles actually want to fight that. Does have some transfusions on a couple of them. I don't think they do. But yeah, this is a very awkward, weird start here for the Zerg.
Yeah, I do like that soO is sending across the Ravagers. Maybe that can force a pullback on the Oracles, and he can set up some spores, because otherwise, this 3rd base just isn't doing anything for him. He can't even produce out of it. It's just costing him.
He's just making a lot of Lings here. Squeezing out a handful of drones, oddly enough, but making a big bowl of Lings to try and what looks to be pressure the natural wall-in of ShoWTimE. So even just some Biles here. Obviously, the Oracles can easily deal with this, but ShoWTimE wants them on this side of the map, slowing down the Zerg's expansions.
Yeah, it's like hilarious watching this game. It's such a weird game from such weird, aggressive openings on both sides. It looks like the 4 Oracle's gonna fly in. Ooh, just barely don't get the Queen, but he will get out with all 4 of them.
As long as they're alive, they are a constant threat and a constant pain in the side here of soO.
feel like I'm watching some weird alternative world RTS where you're scouting with 2 Ravagers in the early game. It's like, those aren't particularly fast and they're pretty expensive. Okay, let's go check if he has a 3rd.
Ooh, some of the units of Protoss a little bit out here. He's going to lose a sentry. That's a nice pickoff. Maybe 2 sentries here. Wow, there's a couple hundred gas down the toilet just like that.
My God. This is one of the weirdest attacks I've ever seen. Like, just a little group of Lings and the 2 Ravagers he's had for 100 years.
What's really weird is how effective it's been. I mean, it's not going to break ShoWTimE here. It's only a handful of units, but he found a lot of value there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now he's making a little group of Lings right now. He's actually caught up as far as the worker count. And I wonder, I mean, is he afraid of a little bit of a move out? I mean, you see that Immortal, you see that there isn't a 3rd base as of yet, but I feel like ShoWTimE is going to expand. Yeah, there it is.
All right, so the 3rd Nexus does go down. He'll also have to mine out those minerals there to make sure he can get down to defend it and transfer those probes on over. So, yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where you only have that. You have the high ground, which is a massive advantage in StarCraft 2, and you have a relatively small ramp to handle as well. You know, you don't have that wide open area where the Zerg can actually run up a ramp, go past your natural into the 3rd from 2 different angles. 4 Oracles going into the main base. Double Spore Crawler, though. soO taking this very seriously, as he should. Just has to eat a Revelation and then let him go.
Yeah, 11 Roaches on the way right now. So soO's starting his army production. But is this an army that's actually going to be able to... Oh, well. I just saw it in the production tab. Guess what it is, Maynard?
It is the Nidus Worm.
Yes,
the worm from down under.
Yeah, he's got a fair amount of queens here as well, so this could be a very deadly attack.
Certainly could. I mean, ShoWTimE does have a good number of Immortals out, and they are very, very good at dealing with the worm, but...
You have to see it coming.
You have to see it coming, you have to be in the right place at the right time. That thing builds very, very fast, and the heads are very, very cheap for the Zerg as well.
Looks like he might get a scout off on it. That would be huge if he actually ends up seeing it here. All right, sees some queens. Oh!
There it is. Thank you, Revelation.
Beautiful Revelation right there.
So now he's going to start splitting out his forces. The thing with Nidus Worm play is that he's played against us so many times, and there are very, very, you know, popular Nidus Worm locations on every map in the map pool, and ShoWTimE knows that Nidus Worm is around here somewhere. He just misses it at that 3rd base, and here comes soO's attack. He's, of course, pumping out multiple Nidus Worms, so the Oracles and the Immortals and Sentries and Zealots need to be on whack-a-mole duty here, or the Zerg is going to start to really snowball.
Well, he is going to be able to get right in here. He's going to pick off the Forge right away, which opens up a little bit of area here. Now, ShoWTimE does have a pretty strong army, but there's a lot of transfusions here. There's a lot of anti-air to deal with those Oracles as well.
Yeah, certainly is. The Queens and all that transfusion energy is so scary here. The Oracles are just biding their time. They really are only useful for dealing with Nidus Worms at the moment and ordering a little bit more DPS once ShoWTimE can hopefully stabilize. Having Archons in here is fantastic, but he doesn't have the shield batteries done just yet, which would actually be amazing for his defense.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Here we go.
The Oracles fly in here as well now, starting to target down some of these expensive units. The shield batteries starting to finish up. The Archons are still left alive, as well as 3 Immortals, and it looks like ShoWTimE should be able to clean this up.
Oh, it's so good of a defense here for Demour. The wall standing strong. And it was so important as well that he got +1 done before the Forge died. His army is just that little bit extra stronger. And he knocks back the first wave of the Zerg's attack. And soO left in a situation where he's still on 3 bases and 50 drones, Artosis. That is not a good spot for the Zerg.
No, not so much, especially when you look at the fact that he has no upgrades and we have a super technical army here for ShoWTimE. When you are going Roach and you have the same supply as the Immortal guy, that's not good.
Good luck to you is what I say.
Yeah,
I don't want to be in your shoes.
Certainly not. So ShoWTimE looking super strong. Like, how do you even come back here as soO?
Well, I mean, you rest your thumb on the R button and pray, I believe, and that's what soO's doing right now, getting as many Roaches as possible because he cannot spend lava on drones right now. If ShoWTimE goes across the map, he just dies. So he needs to have an army.
Yeah. I mean, you pray, but if you can find a god that helps Roaches to beat this many Immortals, let me know. I mean,
I don't know if there is a god out there that lets that many Roaches beat Immortals, but
yeah.
You know, I've seen weird things in this game before, so maybe that does exist. Some dark corner of the galaxy.
Yeah. We shall see about that shortly. He's going to throw up some more Nidus exits. I don't know that he even has time to go over there and do anything, to be honest, because here comes ShoWTimE.
Well, soO's in a between a rock and a hard place here. Does he use the units to defend or use them to offend? They're going to come out, and the Night Swim is detected by ShoWTimE's units. soO knows he's been detected here, and ShoWTimE's army does do quite well against what soO has made. soO is up a good number of army supply, but keep in mind the composition of this army. You know, it's a very supply-intensive army. You know, 3 supply for a Ravager, 2 for a Roach, and they just are not effective against this many Immortals and this Archon count as well.
Yeah, the Queen's in there. They do have those transfuses and everything, but I mean, is that going to be enough to help him push through here? This is really the last chance of soO, I feel.
Yeah, he's all on the line here for game number 2. And ShoWTimE even bringing in the Warp Prism, which adds a lot more value to this army. He can save those Archons and those Immortals when they get a little bit lower. He's trying to get a shield battery down here at the 4th Nexus as well. He might have to give up the 4th Nexus, but if he can just stand somewhere near some static defense, this will be so much easier for him.
Yeah, if he had any shield batteries, anything like that to help him out right now, that would be just gigantic. But soO is putting on a wonderful attack right now. He's starting to hit some of his bios. He's really targeting down some of these valuable units. We just saw an Immortal fall as well. There's a Prism here.
Yeah, the Prism is not actually saving these Archons from ShoWTimE, which I feel like is a bit of a mistake, but these 5 Immortals are now starting to show their value here against that Roach Force, and the Charge Lots as well, pushing soO back.
Yeah, finally, ShoWTimE does break the back of this army, and soO is going to have to back up. We're right on top of that Night Swarm exit, but so few units coming out. Single reinforcing Roach.
It's just a handful of Roaches, just 3 of them coming on that front line. You see that ShoWTimE's just not really caring about his macro anymore because he knows he's got it in the bag. And there we go, Demauer ties up the series 1 apiece.
All right, with that GG, we have ourselves a series here once again. You know, that game, of course, very, very different. Double hatchery before spawning pool, including an offensive hatchery from soO. Of course, ShoWTimE fights back with his own cannon rush to kill the natural of soO, and craziness occurs.
That was a weird one.
Yes.
Some quick and albeit painful games for depending on which side of the fence you're on, if you're a ShoWTimE or a soO fan. I personally am just a StarCraft fan, Artosis, so I'm just happy to get good games.
I'm more than that. I'm a StarCraft fan, I'm a soO fan, I'm a ShoWTimE fan.
Right.
I'm a Maynard fan.
Damn. And I'm an Artosis fan.
Yeah. We're both tasteless fans.
Going on 10 years strong, and yes, I was about to say, definitely a tasteless fan. Going on 10 years strong.
All right, our next map, Winter's Gate. Who do you think has the edge after watching those first 2 games?
You know what? I think that ShoWTimE's starting to find his feet a little bit. I'm feeling like he's starting to pick up what soO's putting down. He's eating what he's cooking, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think ShoWTimE's starting to look a little bit clean. Like, that was such a weird game, and he just made the right decisions. And I think if he keeps his head on his shoulders, he's going to be looking really good here in Game 3. And let's get right into it, guys. In the bottom right here in Winter's Gate, in the red, the Korean Zerg. He is
Chivo, soO.
in the top left, in the blue, getting a great win there on World of Sleepers. He is
Makers, ShoWTimE.
an actual ball nerd wearing an Armani Exchange shirt, sweatpants, and Armani Exchange shoes. That's literally what he's wearing right now.
He is an actual baller, and I tell you what, if when I go to the airport, I don't see his picture on one of the walls wearing a watch,
like
what kind of world am I living in?
Like Tag Heuer or someone like that needs to hire him and just
George
like
Clooney, are you kidding me?
They need to fire that Chris Hemsworth guy and get someone that's actually a specimen.
Hideous and weak compared to ShoWTimE, if you ask me, okay? You can tell that Chris Hemsworth is also a Protoss player, but is he as good as ShoWTimE? Is he the wall? No.
No. But he would storm a lot, though.
Yes. He would certainly storm a lot. And somehow traveled through Anitis. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, it looks like a forge.
Once again, ShoWTimE did this on Winter's Gate as well, where he, you know, when he played Dark, he's like, okay, I like to counter rush this map. Oh, this drone trying to block those pylons.
Oh my God! Oh!
That is so frustrating for soO.
That was like a half of a trillisecond from getting in there and ruining this cannon rush.
Some pixel perfect plays here for ShoWTimE.
Cancel hatch. Force the cannons out. So the same opening on both sides. What am I watching here, Maynard?
It's World of Sleepers, but with a much shorter rush distance.
And look at this. He actually pulls more probes this time to make sure the hatchery doesn't finish.
Yeah, because broodlings are actually very annoying. And also creep spread. So
Yeah, the
getting rid
creep
of
that
this is
comes
actually
out of
huge.
it. He popped a roach at last time, which was kind of hilarious, which forced that shield battery and everything. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty worthwhile.
So I actually like this start for ShoWTimE even more.
Yes, absolutely.
He's not getting that. You know, when he was doing this rush against Dark, he had that extra pylon, he had that extra cannon. His Nexus was just a lot slower. This game, his Nexus is going to be a fair bit faster.
Yeah, he looks actually quite a bit better
And
here.
if he can keep the high ground probe alive, yeah, baby, there it is. First is a cancel on that Spine Crawler.
That
game
is so
looking
annoying.
great for ShoWTimE so far.
It really, really is. The probe, the drone rather, still looking to do something here. Not sure
Trying
what
to
it's
slow
going to be
down.
able to find.
I think he wanted to block that natural Nexus, but wasn't quite fast enough.
I tell you, this just looks great for a German Protoss player.
Yeah.
Like, getting this kill off, getting the Nexus up so quickly, the fact that he forced a cancel on the Spine, it's like, when are you even going to break this? At what time? There's no Roach Warren on the way.
No, soO might be going for a Ling Flood here, but, actually, no, he's got that extra base on the low ground, so I think he's just looking to try and get that 3 base economy back, but just take the hit. Oh, a little bit of misplaying there from soO, building things a little bit too close to the cannons, forcing some cancels, losing some minerals here. This Overlord, I don't think, is going to... Whoa, just finishes in time. There we go.
Wow, that was well timed. Look at that. Yeah, he somehow gets the drones out of there as well, but this Adept is coming for blood. And look at that, he has to make he makes a geyser where the cannon can hit it because he's trying to save it. And now he's on the high ground with it? This is madness.
This is ShoWTimE, putting the screws to soO here in game 3. What an annoying start for the Zerg to have to deal with. And that's actually a dead drone, I think, in a second here. Well, there it is.
I want someone to find this account and check the build order history and just get really confused. It's like, wait, he had 3 gases but only 1 hatchery? Like, what's going on here?
You upload this build to a build order tester, like one of those things that puts the build up around the screen for you. And like, this is a really confusing build order. I don't understand what the Zerg's going for here.
Feed this replay to Alpha Star, man. It just shuts itself off. But yeah, this has been a very wild opening. Definitely does look good for ShoWTimE right now. But you know what? There's some creep actually connected. We don't see as much harassment going on at the third base location, which is, I guess, the new first expansion, like we saw in the previous game. So maybe soO is not as bad off as we seem to feel like he is.
Well, I mean, it's 5 minutes in the game and you've just barely started a 3rd hatchery. So that does sting. But of course, the Protoss did put a lot of resources into that rush, and also, the Adept, etc. But it does feel like, if you look at absolutely everything right now, the advantage is in ShoWTimE's side of the court.
Yeah, definitely think about that. All right, the Oracle going to come through the Bubula, see a Queen, see a Spore. Not got anything done. Ooh. Damages a couple things and gets out of here. So not a lot of damage, but I don't think it's the most important thing in the world right now.
Just the double Oracle into the Phoenix here. Stock standard Star for ShoWTimE. Of course, we've been showing that he doesn't really stop at 2 Oracles in this series, or any of his PvZs so far, but we'll see if he does this game.
Yeah, they can squeeze out that Phoenix as well. May as well push back some of these Overlords, get rid of some of the vision of your opponent. Look at this, he has these 4 Adepts ready to get out here and put a little bit of pressure on. This is going to force unit production out of soO when he wants to make drones.
Absolutely. ShoWTimE knows the timings here. He knows that the Zerg wants to recover that economy, and he is looking to hit them when they're down. That's a lot of Adepts, Artosis.
Yeah,
6 Adepts with double Oracle. And he just used his Pulsar Beams at home to zap down some Lings, so they don't have a ton of energy to be useful in the fight, but 6 Adepts is extremely scary for soO. He goes for a Ling run by here.
Oh, that's really nice. Getting a couple in, but of course that will be dealt with reasonably easily. Oh, nice micro.
Nice control there. Very nice.
Now let's see what he's doing with those Adepts. He actually didn't move them all the way across the map yet. I'm a little bit surprised about that. It felt like a great time to go over because he does have the 2 Oracles as well.
And didn't need to take your time with that, I feel. Well, now soO does have a good number of Lings here, but if those Adepts find themselves in a nice little nook, a little bit of surface area denial on those Lings, they can really do a ton of damage. A safety shade here for those Adepts to make sure that they don't die, but we do have more drones going down. The 1-2 punch from ShoWTimE, forcing him to look at his Adepts while the Oracles swoop on in and get 7 drones. And these are the only 2 Oracles that ShoWTimE's made in this game, so he's actually finding a ton of value.
Yeah, really not too bad right there. Messes up his micro maybe a little bit and doesn't kill a couple extra drones.
Oh, we're going to see some Swarm Hosts here, Artosis.
Oh, are we now?
I think so. And you know what? When you make Swarm Hosts, you always get the worm from down under.
And also, when you do not make Swarm Hosts, you always get the worm from down under.
So you just get it, okay? It's a good thing to have.
Yeah, it's pretty good building.
This Shade is going to finish, and he's going straight in that main base, and it's just wee little drones all in their lonesome. No units to help them out until the Lings cart coming in, but again, you know, ShoWTimE is just going to go for that recall. Happy with a little bit of drone damage. He's got a couple of damaged drones here, not target firing, but that's okay. He definitely can afford to make these trades, and the Swarm hosts are going to be in production very, very shortly here. There it is, 10 on the way for soO. And ShoWTimE knows about the Nidus as well, going there for that Revelation, and that Immortal production is going to be very, very key in his defense.
Yeah, indeed. He's got to really watch out as well for where these Niduses are going to come up. The Swarm host can deal so much damage so quickly. You must stay on top of them.
It's exactly how he died to Dark in his series, when the Rush sort of, you know, did its dash. It sort of paid for itself, I guess, kind of, and then the Swarm hosts Nidus Worm Whack-A-Mole ended up killing Nexi everywhere. The game did go the distance, though. We'll see if soO can find damage here.
Well, look at this. He did kind of a safety Nidus there just to make sure he had something out front. So he's going to go ahead and throw these first Locusts down through the Bubula. It is going to slow them down a little bit, make them a little bit weaker.
ShoWTimE dropping some force fields here, trying to help him out against the Lings, I guess. It doesn't really help him a ton against those Locusts as they fly until they start attacking. So he's going to lose a few units here, and obviously soO is always more than happy to get any damage done with these free units popping off of those Swarm hosts. And ShoWTimE needs Archons. He has a Templar Archives on the way. It's not done just yet, but Archon's extremely important for dealing with things like Locusts. He tries to stop the retreat of the Swarm host there. A cute play, but ineffective from ShoWTimE.
Yeah, you really got to cover it completely if you want to do a move like that. And everything was creep spread already, so it feels like he could have run. More Swarm hosts on the way. And I mean, this is going to be nonstop. ShoWTimE has to start thinking about putting pressure on by attacking.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, you sit back and you just keep taking Locusts and Locusts and more Locusts, and it feels like you're just being a punching bag for the Zerg. Another Zealot going down, and that's going to be more here as those Locusts start to swarm on in. He saves the Immortal, putting it up in the Prism and juggling it back into their shield batteries, which is nice and all, but every time these Locusts find damage, soO is just going to be smiling back at home.
Well, even getting those few sentries and everything, I mean, that is very painful indeed. Look at ShoWTimE's army. I mean, that is...
an Archon.
Yeah, even picks off the Archon. I mean, his army is just so weak right now. He really needs to get his production going and get over there.
He's got a bit of money in the bank at the moment, the ShoWTimE. He's actually supply blocked Artosis, getting those pylons down. Floating a little bit of money here. Our German Protoss, he seems just to feel very uncomfortable with the Swarm host Nidus play.
Well, you can't blame him about that. That is a lot of Locusts about to come in right now.
Ooh, nice little depth counterattack here, but soO does have Spine Crawlers and Roaches in position to fight back. And that is a big wave of Locusts here from the Zerg.
Oh my god, just so much damage. The Roaches and Ravagers coming up at the same time. What a strong tactical move here from soO. ShoWTimE is just doing everything he can just to stay alive.
This game started off so well for ShoWTimE, but it's all soO right now. He's up almost 100 army supply Artosis, and if that comes across the map, I mean, most of it is here. It just needs to go with the Nidus Worm. This just looks terrible for ShoWTimE. He's lost all of his advantages.
It's really too bad. Like, soO just nailed this Swarm host attack and has kept him on that back foot. And the thing is, ShoWTimE has never gotten an army really big enough to move across the map. And look at this now. More Swarm hosts coming out. The Locust going to be launched. Even just the base army is strong enough to fight against ShoWTimE.
And that means that the natural is wide open here for those Locusts to pick off the Forge, pick off the Cyber Core. I mean, charge lots are all well and good, but he could actually depower this wall in as well. He went for it, but the Locusts are just on A move here. And ShoWTimE's just having enough trouble with his Roaches and Ravagers and Queens Artosis, never mind the Locusts.
Yeah, I mean, he's killing them on multiple fronts. GG is called, and soO goes up 2-1. Wow, I mean, after how strong an opening ShoWTimE had, I thought that was going to be a much better game, but soO just Hulk smashing him with that Nidus Swarm host.
Oh man, every time Dark got the Nidus Swarm host plays happening in their series, he just found so much damage. Just really feels time and time again we're seeing consistently ShoWTimE just falling apart when the Nidus Worms start to pop out with their Swarm host and the Locust. Like, handling the Locust just seems really, really tough for him.
Well, you know, I think that type of play is a real bane against the more defensive Protoss players like ShoWTimE. You can't really do a move like that against a very aggressive Protoss like a Parting or a Hero, so maybe we need to see ShoWTimE switch up his style.
Maybe. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we are going to see game number 4 between soO and ShoWTimE, our final best of 5 of the day. Don't go away. Welcome back, guys. Potentially the last map coming up here between ShoWTimE and soO. But if that's the case, I'm going to be shocked and disgusted, Artosis. I want a game 5 here.
Well, of course. I mean, we've had 3 of them today. Last series, unfortunately, we were unable to make it to that final game. I'm hoping, though. I mean, we're going to go into Ephemeron. Most Zergs have been vetoing this today. So.
Yeah, this has been a pretty consistent veto from the Zerg. Yeah. It's one of the, say, very few maps in the map pool that's not good for the race.
If by not good, you mean pretty good, but not
It's
best.
pretty good, but not amazing.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of these maps that definitely the Protosses and the Terrans would like to play Zerg on, you know, to say the least. So we, you know, just looking at the maps, looks pretty good for ShoWTimE, but of course he needs to bring the skills to pay the bills. Let's get into it. Baby. This might be a quick one. All right, in the bottom right here in the red, going for a little bit of cheese. He is.
Chivo. soO.
More like Cheezos.
That's up left here, about to experience some early links. He is.
Makers. ShoWTimE.
So it looks like soO's going for the gasless variety here, so usually expand behind this, but 12 pulls can be extremely annoying. Thankfully, ShoWTimE is, of course, setting that probe across the map, and we'll hopefully be able to get the Zealot out and have some kind of wall in back behind.
I feel like 12 pool is one of the most confusing builds in the game. People are very divided, I think, on how good it is. And then if I say that, Zerg players are like, no, they aren't. It's bad. It's like, well, anyways, he gets actually the very quick scout off and sees exactly what's going on. So, of course, he knows how to play against this. Yep. I think what we'll see probably is a Cybernetics core get...
And then Zealot.
Yeah. And, you know, the way that I like to see Protosses play against this and play against this myself is to get into 2 Adepts. Like, Adepts against slow Zerglings, turns out they're pretty good.
It's definitely where you want to be, starting that double Adept production on those 2 gateways. But, you know, soO is Mr. Roachwarren, and
he is Mr. Roachwarren.
They usually are out in time for the scary number of Adepts. And now these Lings are going to be very annoying, nibbling here and trying to debate out Zealots from their hidey hole here in this wall-in. And getting that Cybercore would obviously be amazing, but ShoWTimE doesn't look like he wants to let that happen. So the Zealot is coming out of its hidey hole, knowing the second Zealot is about to finish. That Cybercore getting very low here. He needs to do something about this.
He's going to get it.
Oh my, well.
Yeah. He just gets it, just straight up.
Yeah, that's really sucks for ShoWTimE. He does have 2 Adepts in production, so he at least has that going for him. But a very awkward, weird start here. 2 Zealots are chasing down these Lings. He doesn't want to lose them at all. He doesn't want to lose anything here.
Oh, we started one of the other games with losing 2 hatcheries by 3 minutes.
Oh, the Zealot's getting surrounded.
Oh, beautiful surround right there. Of course, with the Adept popping out, he is going to be safe. But, you know, having the Lings, like, spread out like this, maybe he can poke back and slow the Adepts down from actually going in towards his base.
I mean, this does obviously slow down the Nexus. Slowing down the Cybercore means a very late Warp Gate here for ShoWTimE, as well as losing those two Zealots. So, you know, not a great economy for either player at the moment, but soO getting at least a little bit of early game aggression on the table.
Yeah, I feel like he actually executed that really well, and I think that was a very worthwhile 12 pool.
Definitely.
Surprised with how much he did, actually.
He's just getting his gas now. So, yeah, nothing but drones here. We're heading towards the 3rd base, obviously a little bit later, but not going to be slowed down too much more from here on out.
Yeah, as long as he blocks this Adept harassment, I think he's in a pretty good spot, to be honest. You know, but this is the part where it can get a little bit scary. You really want to be making drones right now, not Lings.
Does he not have any Lings?
He has a few. Yeah, I think he has more than 2, I'm pretty sure.
There's 3 right there in the main base. So the Adept's not going to commit to a shade in the main base here. soO's follow-up Overlord Scout going to see that Stargate again for ShoWTimE.
Well, that is the way that he likes to play.
Fair enough.
Couple more Lings on the way, more drones coming up as well. Looks like soO getting ready to take this 3rd base. And actually finishes that shade into the main.
Yeah, realizing that these Lings don't have speed just yet, and they are just a little bit squishy here against those Adepts, trying to get some drones here. Lets the shade finish to escape.
I almost feel like he should have canceled that shade. That felt like a juicy one right there with only 1 Ling and 1 Queen on him. But you know what? The wall knows best.
Yeah, he's a better player than both of us, so we'll just let him do what he wants.
Yeah. That's only because we don't play Zerg. Jokes aside. You know, he's looking very strong this game.
I tried playing ZvP recently. I'm terrible, so the race won't help me. We've got 3 Adepts coming on in here, and you know, he sees the third base. He's going to try and find whatever damage he can. 3 Adepts is quite scary. That's still not that a convincing amount of lings, but he doesn't want to lose anything here. He doesn't want to give soO any more early game damage. Getting rid of that Overlord. The Oracle's in production after that Phoenix. A very stock standard normal opening here for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, he's adding quite a few Adepts now, so it looks like he does want to put on some pressure here once again. But I feel like soO's pretty safe overall, right? He is getting into his Zergling speed and adding a few lings here and there. He has an okay amount of queens right now as well.
I feel like with this Evo Chamber, he gets +1 attack here and goes heavy on the lings. Like a lot more heavy on the lings. This is something we've seen a little bit from Zergs.
Yeah.
It's very stylistic. It's very swarmy, so you can actually do an insane amount of damage. Like it's annoying how much damage they can do actually. And there's that +1 attack there.
Yeah, Dark was using this actually quite a bit against ShoWTimE. See if he can identify exactly what's going on. But these 5 Adepts actually shading in.
Yeah, I think you let this shade finish for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Look at this. He's starting to pick off quite a few drones here.
Yeah, finding a good bit of drone damage, just letting him trade against those lings, which still don't have speed, so they're just sort of face tanking those Adepts right now. Only a handful of drones and losing quite a few Adepts as well. That actually went a lot worse than I thought it would, strangely enough.
Well, he killed an okay amount of lings, but I felt like he should have been targeting drones down there. I think he could have gotten quite a few, but...
Oh, damage is damage.
Yeah, it certainly is. And now any ling counterattacks on his third are going to be quite a bit weaker.
Yeah, I just realized that when they brought the units lost up here, 22 lings have gone down this game. It's quite a bit. So with those Adepts in between the pile and the Nexus here, they are easily going to handle this small cluster of lings. Forge going down here for ShoWTimE, so heading towards a pretty normal unit composition. Going to get multiple gateway units out there, +1 attack on that Forge. But of course, soO, he's getting a Baneling Nest, he's getting a Roach Warrior. I'm going to see some Ravager Ling Bane here, but of course, keep in mind his lings and those Banelings actually are going to be a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, he has a lot of lings actually out on the map right now, so it seems like he might try to do something like a cancel, but that building placement, those units placed in there by ShoWTimE, it's beautiful. I don't think that can be broken.
I don't think so, especially with this Oracle here on that front door.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be a cancel or a kill right there. I mean, it's unless he's asleep, that should be that should be a cancel. So there we go, slowing down the infrastructure of the Zerg. Very nicely done by ShoWTimE. And he is producing Immortals back at home. There's that +1 we were talking about.
Yeah, really gearing up for the longer game here. But +1 melee about to finish. Definitely a bit of map control here with this many Zerglings out, but I don't think ShoWTimE really cares about that too much. Now, he's got to be careful if he gets caught here. Oh, this is a big moment right now.
Wow, he's trying to recall the Immortal, but I don't think, oh my god, just the last second it survives.
Wow.
And pulls back. Once again, the Sentry's exposed here. Force fields to try and save them. Looks like he just has enough to fight back the lings. They finish off the Immortal and the Natural. Oh, soO, great play here with just a cluster of lings, a relatively inexpensive army for a Zerg that already has several hundred minerals in the bank, and he's got a Spire up behind this. ShoWTimE starting to crumble a little bit here.
Beautiful execution there from soO. The fact that he got all of those valuable units, a couple sentries went down, the Immortal. He's getting a lot of energy off of this as well, and the follow-up right now, he's keeping him so busy with this. Mutalisk might even catch him off guard in a little bit.
Talking about that +1 attack upgrade on his lings really does show an incredible amount of DPS here. And that Spire, I mean, ShoWTimE is absolutely not ready for that Spire. He doesn't really have a convincing ground army to counterattack with. He still has to handle these run-bys. soO getting it again.
And he is dealing so much damage. Look at this probe kill count right now. 16 probes already falling. Even with 3 Oracles, unable to stop these Ling Floods from doing so much damage.
What a devastating game 4 here for ShoWTimE. soO's got him up against the ropes. The Oracles are out of juice. They're not useful anymore. And soO, while he made a Spire, is just making roaches right now. I think he's realized he smells blood in the water. He's like, oh, I think I can actually just kill him right now.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. He's assessed the situation correctly, that he has such an advantage. Why not push it a little bit harder? Well, I mean, maybe that's going to end up working, but I feel like it gives ShoWTimE a little bit of a chance, whereas if the Mutas flew over, you just kind of shake your head and GG, you know?
Yeah, SMH and F10N right there. Dozen Mutas do end this game for sure. Well, we have a counterattack here from ShoWTimE. Obviously, soO's been making nothing but units here. Roddy kind of warned us all about this. If you ever want to attack soO, those units are going to be waiting because he was about to attack you with them.
Yeah, definitely the case. Making quite a large army right now. The Oracle's kind of spotting what's going on. Of course, soO very comfortably on 4 bases with 70 drones. ShoWTimE refilling his probes as quickly as he can. but his overall unit composition is a little bit lacking, only having one Immortal.
A little bit of damage here with these Oracles. Target fire from soO though on that damage one. Going to take one Oracle out of the equation. He gets 10 drones, which is a substantial amount of workers, but he's going to lose a second Oracle here by the looks of things before escaping back home. And now he has a 102 army supply of Ravager, Ling, Bane here with some Roaches for good measure, and they have +2 attack Artosis. These things are extremely scary.
Yeah, this is really hard for ShoWTimE to get a good engagement off on. Even with those speed banelings rolling in, the Zealot's going to be so much worse.
Filed his own Ravager a little bit there, but soO still with so much army knocking on the front door of the third base of ShoWTimE. Archon starting to get thinned out a little bit. ShoWTimE doing whatever he can right here. He knows that his tournament life is on the line, and this is the big one. This is for BlizzCon. This is the global finals. He has to hold here, but soO is looking so incredibly powerful. And those mutas from downtown coming on down to try and finish off what remains of ShoWTimE. And when he sees these Mudmuts, he's just got to tap out. There's just a little bit too much here from soO and not enough anti-muta countermeasures. GG! Dark and soO, the two Korean Zergs of Group A, are going to be in the round of 8.
Well, definitely two big favorites of the tournament coming out of Korea. It's kind of sad though, right? Because we did see Special almost beat soO. We did see ShoWTimE almost beat Dark, both at the beginning of the night. But as it came to an end, as those elimination matches came on, ShoWTimE just unable, you know, to keep it together a little bit. He really fell apart in that last game to all that harassment.
Yeah, the poor guy just seems to fall apart. It seems a little bit once the the Swarm Host come and knock him with those Locusts. He just he stands there. He takes the damage from the Locusts, and it's like if you don't have a good Archon count, if you don't have Storm. I mean, we didn't see Storm once in that series.
Yeah,
and that's just that's one of your best countermeasures as a Protoss to deal with the Locusts. I mean, there's a lot of things out there, like a lot of Phoenixes, like I said, a lot of Archons, but it is just so tough to deal with.
Yeah, soO kept the pressure on. It's an interesting way he played too, right? He opened up kind of cheesy, you know, throwing down the offensive hatcheries and everything. The games got very wonky, but soO backed that up with his really great and brilliant mechanics. So it seemed like a very hard position for ShoWTimE to fight his way out of.
Yeah, and he's kept ShoWTimE guessing as well. You know, muta switches, just he didn't seem prepared for a lot of the times when soO got the victory. But I do believe that is it for our series and our after game talk. So let's head over the stage with Smix and our second qualified player, soO.
Thank you very much. With this victory, we have our final player to advance from Group A secured, and it is soO. So first of all, congratulations, soO. You're advancing to that round of 8, and tell us what it means to be able to do so after 2 years to be back at that quarterfinals. 윤수 선수 축하드리고요. 2년 만에 블리즈컨 메인 무대에 진출한 소감 한마디 해주세요.
재작년에 너무 좋았던 기억이 많아서 꼭 이번에도 가고 싶었는데 올라가게 돼서 너무 좋고 가서 준우승만 안 했으면 좋겠네요.
So he says, you know, I have so many wonderful memories of making it to the WCS global finals from 2 years ago. So this year as well, I really wanted to make it to Anaheim and go to America, but this time around, my only wish is to not get second place once again. And in this series against ShoWTimE, I'm curious because in the series that ShoWTimE had against Dark, it was such a close series. So watching ShoWTimE's play, did that make you change your expectations of what it would be like to face him? 이제 박용훈 선수와 쇼타임 선수가 이제 접전을 펼쳤었는데 쇼타임 선수의 경기를 보고 나서 상대하는 것에 대해서 생각이 바뀌었는지 궁금해요.
아니, 원래 알던 그 정석적인 쇼타임 선수가 그대로 나왔고 딱히 바뀐 건 없어요. 보고 바뀐 건 없고 그냥 준비한 거 했는데 그게 잘 통했던 것 같고, 그리고 이런 플레이는 이제 그 강태수 선수의 유물인데 잘 쓰고 간다고 하고 싶네요.
So when it comes to ShoWTimE, I've actually known for a very long time what a strong player he is. So truth be told, coming into today's match against him, it wasn't like I underestimated him or anything like that. I already knew he was really good, and so it didn't change how I prepared or any of the strategies that I had against him. And I think that's why everything worked out as well as it did. And I do want to give a little bit of credit to True. I feel like I was able to sort of display some of the style that he's able to portray in the past here. So I wanted to mention that little bit. And last but not least, when it comes to your recent results, we saw you get top 4 at the Super Tournament. Now going into the playoffs at BlizzCon, what are your expectations for how far you'll be able to advance? 최근 슈퍼 토너먼트에서 4강까지 갔었는데 이번 이제 블리즈컨 플레이오프에서는 얼마나 높이 올라갈 수 있을 것 같으세요?
최근에 제가 스타일을 좀 바꿔서 이것저것 많이 시도해보고 있는데 오히려 그렇게 하는 게 성적이 더 잘 나오는 것 같아요. 그래서 이번에도 가서 좀 편하게 자유롭게 하다 보면은 우승도 한번 도전은 해보도록 하겠습니다.
He says, I've actually experimented a lot recently. I've changed up my style and I'm trying this and that. And I think it's as a result of that I'm actually being able to show such great results lately. And so going into BlizzCon, the WCS Global Finals, I hope to continue to show very good results. And maybe even hopefully I can have an attempt at becoming a WCS Global Champion once again and make it to that championship. So congratulations once again. And then with that, we have our 2 players to advance from Group A secured. It will be Dark and soO. Let's head over to the analyst desk.
That's right, WCS Korea wins out for today as Dark and soO have been able to move on into the round of 8. Pretty hard-fought victory across the entirety of the day here, but soO in some of the final stages of this makes it look a little easier compared to some of our previous series. Joining me, Rotterdam, Pig, as well as Nathanius. Guys, soO advancing on here in 2nd place.
Well met to you too, James Carroll.
Yeah.
I mean, well, he got 2nd place in the group, asks not to get 2nd place in the tournament, but as Rotterdam was just telling me, I mean, the 2nd place prize pool in this thing is actually pretty good.
It's $96,000.
It's quite a bit of change. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll opt for 3rd or 4th, I suppose.
I'll settle for it, man.
It's kind of funny, right? It's like 2nd place curse, and you're like, really? Making it to the finals curse? Is it? But, I mean, good to see him bring it together. I think soO's strength is always his decisiveness, right?
Sure.
He just kind of commits to his attacks, puts the pressure on, and that's what that whole last series was. He just piled the pressure on, and we saw ShoWTimE just a couple of cracks start to show every single time soO jumped on it.
You know, I feel a little bit for ShoWTimE because if you are a player in these games and you scout soO, it's like, what am I actually scouting over here? Like on Thunderbird, you reveal a Nidus network, you see a couple queens, no units. It's like, okay, he's gonna Nidus, right? No, wrong. It's 85 drones, Muda Corruptor. Like, the number one thing as a Protoss player when you scout like a Spire later or you suddenly see a couple of Phoenix is you always tell yourself, let's not overreact, you know, because the Zerg want me to make a 2nd Stargate and a Fleet Beacon and then they kill me with Roach Bane. They always do that. So it's like, I'm not going to overreact. So it's like, ha, you're not overreacting. He has 27 Mudas. It's like, it's so weird. A lot of soO's play is so weird and it's so hard to understand. But it's obviously, it's not random. Like, there is a thought behind all of it, but it's not the way we normally see StarCraft. It's not the things that make sense. But yeah, I mean, he's just floating money all the time. And it's like, you scout him, it's like, what is he going to spend it on? Is it more Mudas? Is it Roaches? Like, is it a Bane attack? Is he attacking? Like, what is it? It's hard to understand even without Fog of War, so I can only imagine what kind of a nightmare it is to play against it.
It feels like your choices sit on a knife's edge, and if you go one way, it's pretty difficult. Let's take a look at the highlights, of course, here from our series as it did unfold with the 4 games that did happen here against ShoWTimE. And for soO, obviously, as you said, kind of keeping ShoWTimE on the edge of his seat when trying to anticipate what is actually coming at him. And a lot of this air tech that we saw from soO was extremely potent and extremely powerful.
No, I really think in this game, if ShoWTimE would have shown more respect and like would have invested more in Phoenix or maybe even a 2nd Stargate. But like I said before, that's normally what the Zerg wants you to do. So you're telling yourself, I don't want to do what the Zerg wants me to do because then that other thing is going to happen. I mean, it's a bit of a mystery looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of those things where it's just the amount of room that soO had here. You're talking about him kind of wants to go for the Nidus Worm, drops another tech structure, drops another, ends up building like 40 workers and no army during that time. And it's one of those things where any dedicated push at all, it could be a heavy pressure, and soO's entire build crumbles. But because ShoWTimE's such a defensive player, soO adapted, adjusted to him, and said, you know what? I've just got to trick you a little bit here. I don't have to worry about an incoming attack. I can be a bit greedy. I can bide my time.
When you're slapping down that many Archons with all of those Mutalisks split up, it's a happy time, I suppose, for the Zerg. And then moving on to game number 2 here, as we saw a lot of Forge openings to try and combat the idea of that natural location being taken away from him, and then to be able to try and put pressure onto his opponent's natural Nathaniels.
You're being pressured into doing all these different strategies, and I think a bit of it comes back to that same kind of mind game that you're playing like on that Thunderbird map, where if you're ShoWTimE, you're trying to develop, improve, you're going for these like multiple Oracle openings, you're trying to do these cannon rushes, and this as well, right? Something that we've seen plenty of causing a lot of trouble for him with dealing with like the Nidus play.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of why it was so good on Thunderbird, because he's been trying to respect it as much as he can. I mean, it was the bane of his existence in the series against Dark earlier today, and trying to be that player that makes those adjustments. When you're playing against a madman who's willing to stretch the game out in these weird ways that you can't just be on top of everything, that's what makes it such a difficult nightmare. And at least for this, you know, you see the adjustment, and it actually turns into something that he can work with, because it's straightforward enough that at least he can kind of think about what's happening in the game.
Now, it worked out on that map and it worked out a little bit less here, but I think throughout the day, we can say, though, that these cannon rushes are not optimal. I'm not saying that they put him behind, because in the earlier game against Dark, I absolutely think he could have won it. But a couple of pylons finishing up that I really don't think had to finish up, an extra cannon being added when the initial cannons were already getting the job done. Now, I'm an absolutely horrific cannon rusher myself, so I'm not one to speak. But I do know when I watch some of the usual cannon rushes, they're a little more optimal with their resources.
Yeah, definitely so. And especially the second game, this kind of came to fruition. It felt almost like soO was still in full control of it anyway, you know, taking his extra bases where he needed to, etc. pick as it was going.
Yeah, and you know, it's one of these things where I think it's big map pool. We've talked about that. We've got even that one, Winter's Gate with slow fields. And the Nidus Worm, its mobility factor is even bigger because of that. But here in the end, it was a classic kind of almost Heart of the Swarm Zerg versus Zerg. It felt like a 9-pool opening, you know. It was the 12-pool. We saw the early Zerglings create some chaos. And then it was just like little Ling run bys and uncharacteristic mistakes there from ShoWTimE. I mean, it's been an exhausting day for the players. They have almost every match went down to the final map.
Long series.
Hour after hour. So, you know, it felt like just a few small mistakes got massively punished here.
I think in this game it showed the most where fatigue really started to kick in.
Oh, yeah.
Like that entire Ling skirmish that happened there, that Ling run by, that started off with 2 Lings that were left alive a little too long at the third base. Then suddenly there is no Zealot or Adept in the wall off again. Like that was 20 probes going down when if ShoWTimE handles that normally, if he's sharp, if he's on the money, he would lose 1 or 2 probes there. He would not lose 20. And that's game ending. And I mean, is that soO playing fantastic, or is that ShoWTimE making uncharacteristic mistakes because maybe he is a little bit tired? Maybe the truth is in the middle, we don't know, but that was not peak performance ShoWTimE anymore.
I mean, even going as far as to not losing any workers and actually just blocking it on the wall completely would be potentially the normal play at this level, I suppose, here, Nathanius. But that kind of irons things out. ShoWTimE now is eliminated here from the global finals, and he'll have to restart his campaign in 2020 once again as a whole. But for Dark and soO, this is a great result for them. soO moving on in second place. It's not the ideal placement, I suppose, as we take a look at the results here for him. But great to get to BlizzCon nonetheless, to the round of 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think the voiceover guy in our opening said it best. The Zerg banners have taken over the world, and some of the strongest Zergs here once again. Feel that you can see the creep spreading around the studio as they are getting ready to try and get as many of those spots in the top 8 as possible. Of course, coming in with their respective ranks. We're not surprised to see them advance, as you know, ShoWTimE even at the start of the day is like, yeah, one of the more average players is a bit tough, and I definitely was hoping for a bit more from Special. I thought he had a real opportunity to get out in a few of those games. He should have won. Like that first map on Acropolis, the TVs, he should have had that. You know?
I mean, both of our WCS circuit players looked really good in the first 2 series of the day, but Dark and soO are still 2 titanic names of StarCraft that making to the round of 8 is almost no surprise for a lot of the usual viewers here of StarCraft as a whole, right, Pig?
There's so much history with these players.
Yeah.
I keep bringing up Dark's 2016 run to the Grand Finals because I just see that as such an iconic part of his career, was that year of StarCraft. He looks just as dominant this year throughout GSL, wins semi-finals, multiple wins. And I don't know, he's got the eye of the tiger going on. He's looking good. Obviously, soO as well. He's just had a very strong year again. And even though he trailed there to Dark, remember that was a very close series there in the end as well. So I think both players deserve to go through. We're going to see great things from them in the round of 8.
Highlight of the day for you, Roddy?
I would say the first 2 series on both sides. I mean,
they were really
both 3-2s, I think, were truly epic. Had a little bit of everything. Had the rush games, had the longer games with some really cool moves. I think those series stood out the most for me.
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. And that now concludes day 1's games. Let's briefly look at exactly what is going to be going on tomorrow as well, because I know a lot of people out there, as well as here in the studio, are hugely anticipating what is going to go down tomorrow, which will be Group B, arguably the strongest group we have ever had in WCS round of 16 history here. For 2019, we of course have Maru, StarCRAFT, and Serral going up against one another. Guys, do I even need to prompt you to start talking about this group? It is ridiculous, Rotterdam, the level of talent we have here.
I believe there is a man who once upon a time said that we say it best if we say nothing at all.
Ronan Keaton.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. Sing it for me, James.
No.
No, come on. What, do I need to hype this up? No, right? Like, no.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful group. How can you follow that, man?
How do you know Ronan Keaton? What is this? Unbelievable.
Got the CD.
Oh, unfortunate for you, my friend.
Timeless classic, my friend.
All right, we're done. We're ending on this weird note here for day number 1. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much to everyone tuning in around the world as well. That's it for day number 1. Tomorrow we are back, same time, same place with Group B here to figure out which few more names are going to be added to the round of 8 here for BlizzCon. We'll see you then.
2019 WCS Global Finals, Round 16.
Come on,